Anime. Japanese-style animation cartoons popular in various parts of the world, including the United States. But just how did anime reach such prominence in American pop culture, or rather nerd culture? What is nerd culture? Why do we see being a nerd as such a bad thing? Anime and its community is a cultural phenomenon that needs to be explored, and it all starts with when these cartoons were first introduced to America. First arriving in the 1960s, anime was not super popular, but it did have an audience in the US. The first animations to reach an American audience were Astro Boy, Kimba the White Lion, Prince Planet, and Speed Racer. The earliest cartoons were all rewritten and dubbed in English when broadcasted in the US. These shows were mainly targeted at a younger audience and were marketed as children's cartoons, making the next surge of anime much more unique.
When I was younger, my brother would watch a lot of anime. I would watch certain episodes with him, like when I just sat down on the couch and that's what he was watching. One of the first animes that I remember watching was Dragon Ball Z, and I only watched a couple episodes and I was really young, so I don't really remember what the plot was mainly about. And then during quarantine, I had nothing to watch, so that's when I really started watching anime on my own. What I like most about anime would probably be the storylines. None of the animes that I've watched have had like similar storylines. Everything's always different and it's not really as predictable as real life shows and real life movies.
I think I started watching when I was around 5 years old. I started watching it because my cousin Lucas would watch anime, but my parents didn't like the shows like Naruto and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. My parents didn't like it because it looked satanic. There was blood, fighting, stuff like that. I kept watching anime after I started watching because I liked the action, I liked the characters. The stuff in the show was really cool, the concepts, the battles that they did, and the art style was really cool.
Then came the 70s, following suit of the massively popular sci-fi genre with prominent films and television shows like Star Wars and Star Trek. Japanese anime marketed to this audience with a slew of sci-fi genre manga and anime. Some shows like Force 5 and Astro Boy were revived, but then with the new decade also came a ton of new shows, this time no longer strictly reserved for children. Some key players of this era were Cutie Honey, the first anime to introduce eki, or sexual themes, and also the first shonen genre to feature a female protagonist. Another series, Star Blazers, also gained quite the audience. With a premiere in the San Francisco Bay Area, the show, along with Cutie Honey, was much more mature than its preceding animations. Like the earlier cartoons, Star Blazers was rewritten, and much of the alcohol and mature themes were censored and excluded. But it nonetheless remained an inappropriate show for children. These and many more sci-fi anime series paved the way for the boom of the industry in the 80s. And by catering to a sci-fi audience and overlapping with the Star Wars fandom, they also set the precedent and niche of anime as being a part of nerd culture.
What is a nerd? To be a nerd would be to be passionate about something that isn't really mainstream. I think I'm a little bit of a nerd for watching anime. I don't think it's a bad thing because it's not a negative quality. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt your lifestyle or the people around you. I recommend. I think people should watch it. I recommend it. If you're not, you're depriving yourself of maybe something you'd like.
I don't think being a nerd is necessarily a bad thing because there's different types of nerds. Like you can be a nerd but also be a normal person, but there's some people that take it too far, whereas to the point where they're weird about it. I'm not really sure how to explain what it means to be weird. It's just something that honestly, it's just what people consider different. I used to think that watching anime did make me a little bit of a nerd, but recently as anime started becoming more popular and it started to be seen more as a trend, I started realizing that it's not necessarily going to make you a nerd. I think it depends on the person whether or not you think there is shame in watching anime. I don't really care that much what people think, but I'm still a high school student. I'm still maturing. Like, I still am a little bit scared of what people at school think about. Like, for example, like my room, like all this stuff in the background. Like, I feel like it's a little bit too much. And sometimes I think about like how I want to take some of it down because I would be a little bit embarrassed if someone random walked into my room, like the random from school.
The 80s. By now, anime has inserted itself into nerd culture and gained a shared audience with sci-fi lovers. Continuing this wave came some interesting new shows and genres. We cannot talk about 80s anime without mentioning what is considered the most important and influential anime series of all time, Dragon Ball. Releasing in 1986, reviving in 1989 as Dragon Ball Z, and with a total of 8 different adaptations, this series alone is known as a cartoon that introduced an entire generation of Western viewers to anime. Despite being an anime from the 80s, this show has garnered an audience across multiple generations, making it a foundational part of the anime community. Anyone who knows anything about anime has heard of Dragon Ball Z and its massive success, making it a fundamental show and introduction to the anime community. Besides Dragon Ball, however, other important animes from this time were Captain Tsubasa, the first sports genre anime that popularized and inspired later creations of more sports-centered anime, My Neighbor Totoro, an anime that even 32 years later still has a massive cult following and is considered one of the best animations produced by popular anime production company Studio Ghibli, and the continuation of sci-fi cartoons like Legend of the Galactic Heroes and Fist of the North Star. The past decades were full of significant shows that helped in establishing the anime community that we now know. However, they were also only merely introductions into the market of anime that is seen in modern day.
I watch mostly shonen battle animes like Naruto, My Hero, One Piece, JoJo's. I also like some sports anime, but not a lot. I watched one called Kuroko no Basket. I watched it because I like basketball, and it was pretty cool. They did they would have like special moves and stuff in basketball.
There's like different names for different genres of anime. I don't really know all of them. I know 2 of them. One is Slice of Life and Shojin. I don't really watch a lot of sports animes, but I have watched Haikyuu. I think it's one of the most popular in America, at least. I like romance animes too, but I also like it when the romance animes have like action in them, like Sword Art Online. It's about Kirito and Asuna get stuck inside this virtual world, and they end up meeting and they end up falling in love.
It really wasn't until the 1990s that anime truly hit the mainstream and became the culture that we know it to be in the present. Big names like Sailor Moon, Ghost in the Shell, Pokemon, Cowboy Bebop, Digimon, One Piece, Neon Genesis, Evangelion all came out of the 1990s. 20 and even 30 years later, most of these animations still have unimaginably large audiences, despite no longer airing new episodes. This one decade alone established anime as a significant part of modern-day Western culture. Whether or not you consider yourself the audience for anime or a part of the anime community, you have most likely heard or even seen one of these anime shows in your life. Pokemon, after all, is a worldwide sensation. According to the Washington Post, it is the highest grossing entertainment franchise of all time. Not only does this make Pokemon the most popular anime of all time, it makes Pokemon the most popular cartoon of all time. Although the 90s brought some powerhouse players into the anime market, things did not slow down in the 2000s.
I think anyone can be a part of the anime community. You don't have to be a boy or a girl to watch anime. You don't have to be Asian. You don't have to be white. You don't have to be black. You can just be any regular person and you can watch anime. Anime is popular right now at the moment. There's a lot of people that are hopping on the trend and watching anime, and there's a lot of anime watchers that are sort of gatekeeping anime. I mean, sometimes I get a little annoyed because there are certain people that they start watching anime, like on Snapchat, on their private stories, like they'll always be putting anime on there, like acting like it's something that makes them so quirky and so different. And they only put it out there because they want people to think that they're different.
I do not think anime is just for kids. I don't think animation in general is just for kids, and people don't really get that. But I don't understand how they don't get that, because there's shows where like people are their upper bodies are blown off and like people getting eaten alive. That's not for kids.
The new millennium kept the ball rolling with the 2001 Studio Ghibli release of Spirited Away, the first and only anime film to ever win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. This film continues to gain and keep an enormous audience and cult following, regarded highly among even traditional filmmakers and American animators. Following Spirited Away was Naruto, which is noted as the gateway anime to an entire generation of new viewers. Most older Gen Z and younger millennials have seen the massive success that is Naruto and the subsequent Naruto Shippuden series, and they can even cite this one show as the reason they got into anime. Those who watched Naruto and were hooked into the community would then go on to watch other animes of the 2000s like Full Metal Alchemist, its revival Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Bleach, Death Note, Hunter x Hunter, and Sword Art Online.
My favorite anime would be Darling in the Franxx. It used to be Naruto for the longest time, but then I started watching like shorter animes rather than longer animes. Yeah, I do think everyone should try to watch anime because there's so many different types of anime, there's so many different types of genres. I think that everyone in the whole world can find one anime, at least one anime, that they will enjoy. I do think I'll be a fan of anime forever because I have this giant list in my notes of animes I want to watch, and even as I start watching new animes, the list keeps growing and growing and growing. I think it's just going to be a never-ending list for the rest of my life.
I don't know what my favorite show is probably Yu Yu Hakusho, but my favorite right now is My Hero. I like it because of the pacing, the characters, the concept about everyone of a superhero society developing. I also like Marvel Comics a lot, and it brings that in, a flavor of that into anime, which I also like. I hope I'll be an anime fan forever. I don't know what would make me stop. Maybe I outgrow it, but I don't think I will ever stop watching it.
But where are we today, 2020? The market of anime in the US, which began with 5 small-scale animations, has since grown into a $19 billion industry globally. We cannot talk about modern-day anime without mentioning some of the biggest shows today. My Hero Academia, which has taken over the anime scene with its Marvel Comics-style superheroes. Haikyuu, currently the most popular sports genre anime. One Punch Man, putting a comedic spin on the superhero genre. Netflix hits like Attack on Titan and Seven Deadly Sins, and the popular shows in the Hulu library such as Demon Slayer and Assassination Classroom. Streaming platforms have become an important catalyst in the discovery and availability of anime to the general public. Free and paid subscription anime streaming apps and websites like Crunchyroll and Funimation provide a place for anime lovers to stream as many new and old shows as they like. Beyond these anime-specific streaming sites, companies like Netflix and Hulu have also become an important part of the anime industry by providing a platform for anime to a mainstream audience to easily discover these cartoons. Netflix even produces original and revival series on their platform. They provide popular and well-regarded titles in their library for old and new anime fans alike to watch for the first or 100th time. Here we have learned that anime has such a rich history and diverse community in America and all over the world. No one expected the growth and popularity of these cartoons, as what was once a niche group delegated to a community of nerds has become a core part of mainstream television and culture. Anime demonstrates how the concept of a nerd has evolved, that nerd culture has merged with pop culture. If you have never seen an anime show before, hopefully these interviews have encouraged you to step out and try something new. After all, anime shows are some of the best produced, written, and creative pieces of media that one can watch. And who knows, maybe one day you'll love it so much you'll be calling yourself a weeb.